Howdy YouTube, Darlingtonfarm here. Just had a request to go through my setup on the 1050 VR here, so I thought I would take you through how I set this up to spray milk paint. Right there is a 1050 VR by Apollo. For spraying milk paint, I generally run really low pressure. I run with pressure on top of the paint. This gun arrangement here lets you take pressure from the supply line and run it into the paint cup. I don't know if very many guns let you do that, but this does, which is really nice because it lets you run paint out of this down to about 1.5 to 2 psi. 2.5 psi is kind of generally how I run my first coat. My second coat, I will bump the pressure up to about 3.5 psi, 3.8 psi with this. It really lets you dial it in just right. There's a couple of reasons why I do that. The first coat, I generally will put it on kind of heavy. Not super heavy, but I'll just put it on to where there are nice big droplets. I'll run the gun wide open as far as how I have the needle adjusted here. I'll have it to where I can just pull it all the way back to where I get nice big droplets. Some of them actually kind of shoot over here, but you'll get droplets about that big where it really coats the wood nicely, where it really kind of fills in. And let's see, this back here. This is going to be a drawer bank. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this or not, but there's a little bit of show through kind of in there. But I don't try and get complete coverage on the first coat. I just try and get a halfway decent, kind of, oh, come on, camera, focus. Come on, there we go. I don't try and get complete coverage on the first coat. I just try and get a nice, even, fairly thick coat, probably, a half mil thick. I don't know if I'm using the right term there. A decent base coat. Then I generally will let it dry overnight and then come back and on my second coat I run to where I can barely just get much paint out of the gun, and I run at a higher pressure, which gives you a lot finer droplet. You can kind of see some of them right there, and that kind of gives you a better texture. I will also sand in between. I run over it with my ETS 155 and some 400 grit Brilliant, just to kind of knock off any high spots, any runs, if you have a brain fart and get a run, anything like that, and just kind of smooth everything down. And this General Finish milk paint there is awesome for flowing out, like right up here in this corner, right there. You can't see it now. There was just a hint of a gap, but it flows out, and it will cover any gaps. It really is great for covering, a multitude of, things that otherwise you would have to put in a little bit of wood filler. So it's really nice for that. But yeah, about 2.5 psi wide open on the first pass, and then my second coats and subsequent coats I run about 3.8 psi. With both of the coats, I will use the 1.8 millimeter nozzle and the B High Solids air cup right there. And yeah, it's pretty much just that simple. I don't bother straining it before I put it in there unless it's kind of an old can. I just use a Dixie cup, dunk it in there, pour it out, and then spray it on. And that's pretty much how I run the milk paint here. It's a great product. It really makes it to where kind of a novice can make a great looking finished product. So that's kind of why I like it so much. Inside this one, again, this is going to be a drawer bank. I kind of like having a drawer bank like this where it's going to be finished just to make it a little brighter on the inside, but it'll have doors and then slide out drawers inside there. I guess it's not truly a drawer bank, but that's why I didn't mess with trying to hide pocket screws or anything. But yeah, it's a great setup. I don't know. I bought mine used off eBay. I don't know what they actually come with. With mine, I got the 2.5 millimeter nozzle and the 1.3 millimeter nozzle. The 2.5 is awesome. You can just spray undiluted latex paint at about 6-7 psi with the D air cup right there. That's what I use for latex paint. You can just blast it on, and it is nice. It's quick. You can just use one machine here for everything from urethane or lacquer all the way to, just completely undiluted latex paint like PVA primer for drywall. It's great for that. I wouldn't try and do a whole house with it, but, a little project here and there, it works fine for. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's a great, just a great turbine. I love it. The only thing, you do need to make sure you keep the filters cleaned. I mean, there are 2 gigando filters there, and actually I need to clean these. But yeah, you need to keep the filters clean, otherwise it'll trip the circuit breaker down here. But yeah, it's great. I love it. Yeah, it just does a phenomenal job. And the end result is really great. And what's best, you don't have to mess with the spray booth. There's a little bit of overspray on the ground down here and on my table, but that's after finishing, a lot of, I've had, a bunch of stuff I've made lately in white milk paint. And, if you're just using urethane or lacquer, you don't really see any overspray. It really is great. And I think the only reason is on the floor is I kind of got careless when I was trying to spray these and got in too big a hurry. But yeah, I mean, it really is just an awesome product. Also, general finish here. This stuff is great. And actually, I have changed how I do things as far as the top coat on the general finish over lacquer or over the milk paint there. For the first project I did with these, I just used this clear poly. I think it kind of has a plasticky look. Just not quite what I like. By the time you get enough layers of it on there to actually, I think, get a good, durable finish. And then this stuff here is the general finish clear, or not clear, it's their tinted polyurethane. It's their white polyurethane. I don't particularly like using nothing but it, but for my final coat on my last project, I did this and it turned out really awesome. I put on, I think, 2 layers of this satin clear poly, and then my top coat, or my last coat, I mixed just probably 20-30% of this white tinted poly with that, and it just turned out awesome looking. It had a nice, really sort of deep looking finish, and it kind of almost, it looks like just a tinted lacquer. It looked really good, and it was a whole hell of a lot easier than having to mess with, solvent and everything like that. But it gives you better coverage than just using the clear poly alone. So that's, for my painted projects, I think that's probably, or at least my white projects, that's probably how I'm going to do it from now on, is I just really like, I really like the way that works out. And one cool thing here, and you'll notice right here, or maybe you'll be able to notice, see if it'll focus. This is, I kind of put it on a really heavy here. There was a little bit of a gap in the joint here for my face frame. What I love about the milk paint is it will fill in that gap, and it dries high, and you can just come back with the 400 grit paper and level it. It really is just an awesome product. And it makes finishing cabinets really, really spiffy. Now, I also have tried one other thing here, which is the Enduro Precat urethane, which, this is a badass finish. This is my sort of go-to finish for non-painted products, for just stained products. It has a little bit of a yellow tint to it when you get a lot of layers on, but it's really, really durable. If it's going in a bathroom, I finish it with this. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, this will go over the top of the milk paint there, and it looks okay. Actually, I was pleasantly surprised. I had actually some milk paint down here, then I had some overspray from another project, and I got on there, and then I decided, well, I'll just see what it looks like, and it looked fine, and it was nice and durable. I hit it with a screwdriver just to kind of see what it was going to do, and it seems like it's pretty durable, so I may try that on one of my future projects with this over the top, because this is a much more durable finish than the clear poly there. So cool thing also with the clear poly, you can just use, glaze, other paint, do all kinds of cool crap. You can put on different layers of the milk paint, and then you can, of different colors of milk paint, and come back and sand it, and you can see that through there. So that's kind of cool. This is just the general finish stuff is just a great system. And I really, really like it. It really is a nice arrangement. Anyway, I guess I've rambled on long enough. So I guess, main bullet point there for milk paint, 1.8 millimeter tip, B, high solids air cup, and I do use pressure on it. 2.5 psi, wide open for the first coat. 3.5 to 3.8 psi, with just a really light touch on subsequent coats. And top coats, it just kind of varies depending on what it is, whether it's the clear poly. The clear poly I generally will not run pressure on, as well as the urethane I don't run pressure on, and I'll run it up more like a traditional gun around 4.5 psi, something like that. So anyway, that's kind of how I run this. I guess it's kind of long here. Anyway, I'm Darlington Farm. Thank you for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe.